3 of them are churches, 2 parking lots, and 5 vacant lots, and 309 are residential units. At the meeting on March 22nd, when staff presented this request to council, we had 2 representatives that came up and opposed the inclusion of their properties into the district. From what I understand from them, they did not, they support the district, but they had requested that the churches be removed. Since that meeting, staff, along with Martin Mead, consultant to the city, historic preservation consultant to the city, looked at the 3 churches, and I just want to give you an update on what we've discovered and found on the 3 churches. The first one is New Testament Church, which is at 469 Gentry Street. The church that we were able to determine was originally known as Roseland Presbyterian Church, and it was built in 1949. The church has a brick facade, as you can see, and what I asked the consultant in terms of looking at the 3 churches is what would be considered historical significant of the church in terms of it contributing to the local historic district of Beaumont Village. And the things that Mr. Meek noticed and observed from the church is that the windows, doors, porch covers, and gable roof are all important architectural elements of this building. So when he went to look at it, he was looking at the windows here, the roof pitch here, the porch cover, and of course the door there. This is an addition that the church built on the New Testament church here. From what I understand, they're currently using this as a group home facility, but this is part of the church, and of course this was built in 1965. The other church in question is New Hope Full Gospel Church, which is at 717 North Liberty Street, and this was built in 1910. And the information on this church, as presented, was that it was originally the Beaumont Baptist Church. What's significant about this is that the windows, porch columns, and gable roof are all important elements of this building. There was also an addition that was put on this building in 1953. And then the third church, the last church, is the Beaumont Methodist Church. And this is located at 687 North Liberty Street, and it was built in 1910. The directory shows, the city directory shows that between 1914 and 1915, the pastor was Reverend W.H. Polk. Currently, right now, the church does have vinyl windows in it today and a brick facade. The siding has been added to the steeple tower. What makes this church significant is that the general plan preferred by the Methodists at the turn of the century, like the cruciform plan, and it's mainly the design of the church in form of a cross. And this is significant to this particular church here. And again, there's an addition put on this church in 1953. So after doing the research on the 3 churches, staff, along with the consultant, Martin Meek, would like to ask council to consider designating Beaumont Village to include the 3 churches, the 2 parking lot, and the 5 vacant lots, to bring the total to 319 properties. We feel that the churches offer historical value to the community. It played a tremendous amount of a part in the neighborhood. As we know, when mill villages were created, the churches were not just a church, but sometimes they were used as stores or other forms of activity for the community to go as far as community center. And they can hold other type of events at the church. So we do feel that the churches are a significant part of the community. And so we would like to have those included to be preserved. What I would like to also say is that what can happen if the churches are not included. While we do have a zoning ordinance in place, that only pertains to the use in terms of setback requirements, buffer requirements, etc. It will not protect and preserve the churches. If they want to go in and demolish it without the protection, then we'll be able to demolish it and we'll be able to lose that history there. With the protection, if they decide to do any work to the church, what we have is called a major or minor certificate of appropriateness. We hope with the guidelines that's in place, we allow the owners of the churches as well as the residential owners the ability to come to staff, look at what they want to do, and the staff can work with them in terms of the windows or the doors or the porches. We can approve at the staff level. If there's things that we cannot approve that's considered a major application, then it will go straight to the Historic Architect Review Board for their review and consideration. So with this, with the churches included, it will protect in terms of the demolition, it will protect for new construction, it will protect for expansion, and just overall protect the historical character of the churches in the neighborhood. Do you have any specific questions for me? Yes.
Linda?
Stephanie, how many people do you have that really wants to be a part in that neighborhood? I mean, if you had to give a number.
That like to be
part of being part of historical.
Well, I can't speak. I can't give an exact number, but what I can say is that about 2 years ago, when the neighborhood started this process, they did have a number of meetings, from what I understand. We did receive a copy of a ballot they sent out, and based on the results that they sent back to us, they had about 60% of the, I believe, 80 or so ballots that came back that support being designated as a local historic district. Throughout the process, the Historic Architect Review Board also had a number of public meetings, and we've had a few people that come to support it, as well as those that did not support it. So, from what I understand, and from what the neighborhood received, there was a large majority that supported this than not.
And the next question is, most of these people are on fixed income. Like Ms. Lindsay said that she would like to build a back porch to her house. Will she be allowed to do that? And is there any incentive monetarily from the historical people to do that?
At this time, I'll answer the latter. The Historic Architect Review Board is a volunteer committee that's appointed by City Council. They do not have a budget. But what they do have in terms of knowledge and experience is that if anyone wanted to do anything to their home, and if it's visible from the public right-of-way, we're only talking about the exterior of their home, not the interior of their home, but even that's visible from the public right-of-way, there are grant monies available through the South Carolina Historic Preservation Office in Columbia that, along with Martinique, we can put them in connection and they can look for grant money to help with renovations. If it becomes a financial burden for a homeowner to do any work, and please understand, and like the audience understand, that if council decides to adopt this, it does not mean that they have to do any improvements to their home. It's only if they decide to do improvements to their home that's visible from the right-of-way. But if they have a financial constraint, our zoning ordinance does allow for economic hardship, that we can work with them in terms of looking at different materials and try to find the most economical material that we the board will approve. And then we can ask the board to consider some financial relief to allow them to do a different material that might be more affordable based on their income. And we do have that written in the ordinance to allow for that.
Siding would be permitted though with it.
If they want to change, put vinyl siding, no, they cannot put vinyl siding. Is that correct? That's correct.
Stephanie, I understand since the last time the New Testament Church owned land on Crescent.
That's correct, sir.
Do they have a plan of moving their church in the near future?
Miss Pastor Edie is here, and from what I understand is that they do have purchased land on Crescent Street, and the city planning office we have received plans. And, I don't think they're approved yet, are they?